that.
Why
Aaron,
not?
come on.
I'm the host.
Let's put you on the hot seat. What do you think?
I am going to say no. And my reasoning for that is because his approval ratings are way down, and the message is getting away from him. The message on immigration is getting away. The message on tariffs are getting away, and he's losing control of the narrative that got him into the White House. Anyone disagree with me?
I also think it's because you have the messaging on immigration. There's an easy fix on the message on immigration. The left and some on the right are just talking about one guy.
Or due process.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
due process. Just admit we made a mistake. We're going to follow due process. It's really quick. We're going to give everybody a hearing. It may only be 10 minutes, but just commit to give everybody a hearing in due process. That's super easy to do. Mm-hmm. But instead, you have to dig in your heels and you lose ground. You lose the message. Knock it off. On tariffs, they didn't have a message. He has no idea.
Well, he had a message on the economy, though.
Yeah, he had a message on the economy,
and that's
he
what
messed
I mean.
up with
It's
tariffs.
Shifted over to tariffs.
But he can't explain what a trade deficit is, what a reciprocal tariff is, what a trade imbalance is, how they're different. And that's what's really frustrating. So the American people who already don't know this complicated topic are going to him to find out what are the answers, and he doesn't give us any. So we are left kind of just confused.
Well, don't you think his problem on tariffs, Adam, is that he
Yes.
doesn't know what the answer is? So out of one side of his mouth is we're going to do tariffs because that's going to balance the budget, which requires all sorts of taxes being taken in through tariffs. But on the other side of his mouth is we're going to use tariffs because that will cause all sorts of America factory building, both of which can't be true, but both of which are part of his message. So part of his problem is he doesn't actually know.
Can I jump in with a thought?
Yes.
I don't necessarily mind that he's willing to be seen as or even admit to maybe not knowing everything. I'm actually okay with President Trump changing his mind, doing a course correction here and there, right? We've seen him do that. I was actually...
Those are two separate things.
Yeah,
a
both.
course correction, yeah, I'm okay with course corrections.
Yeah.
But I don't want someone doing anything with tariffs if they don't know what
Yeah,
happens.
it's implementing.
I mean, come on. We're going to hold presidents to the high standard of actually knowing how the economy works, Adam. I'm not sure that, that's fair.
All I want is one president who understands.
Maybe someday. Listen, okay? We didn't get Mitt. You're going to have to just live with that, deal with it. But I wanted to mention that I was really personally struck by the imagery of President Trump with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky in the Basilica. I believe that was St. Peter's, right? They were in
Correct.
St. Peter's
Yeah.
after the
And
funeral.
that was awesome.
At the Post.
The two of them, right, in those chairs, just alone in the middle of the huge open basilica, having a real tough conversation face to face. Trump, at least the look on his face, what I read was he was actually listening.
He was presidential.
It was.
We know reports later said that on the way home, from Air Force One, Trump made a call to Putin and issued a pretty stern threat. Trump has adjusted course on Ukraine following that conversation. So listen, I have issues with Trump. We all do. The first 100 days have been a wild ride, right? But I want to give him a little bit of credit when and where I can.
Now, Greg,
Yeah,
you
you're
said
right.
that you think that he has absolutely not hit his goals.
He didn't do anything he said he was going to do. He was going to end the war with Ukraine and Russia on his first day. He has made it worse. He was going to make the economy better. He has made it worse. He was going to take care of immigration. He has made it worse.
But I'm not sure that's true, Greg, because his border czar, Tom Horman, telling reporters on Monday that border crossings were down to 178.
Yeah.
So just to give
if
credit
that's
where
your
credit's
measure,
due,
if that's your
well,
measure,
that's one measure.
But that's one measure,
Sure
and
it
that's
is.
an important one.
Yeah, I would say
But
that's
at
one
what
early thing
cost?
he's been successful on is that at least step one is close the border. Step two is figure out immigration. He clearly hasn't done step two. No one's going to do step two right now. But I think he has done step one, shut the border down, and I think that is a huge win for him.
This is where crazy rhetoric, I think, kind of helps on the immigration side.
'Cause no one
you're-
wants to
if
come
you're
here anymore?
if you're being crazy and saying we're going to treat you terribly, we're going to look. I get that it sounds bad, and it does. But if you're like, we're going to make your life miserable when you cross, we're going to make it miserable while you're here.
We're going to deport you to El Salvador even if you can
in
be here.
El Salvadorian prison. Look, well, that's a whole other topic, and I think Greg, you and I agree on that. But you're not going to cross the border if that's what's waiting for you. With Biden, it was like, Come one, come all. We'll send you to Martha's Vineyard. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, no, Ron DeSantis will send you to Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, same thing.
No, but it's interesting because Kamala Harris actually did say, don't come, right? Like she has that clip of her
Worked
saying,
out well.
do not come.
Great job,
worked like
Kamala.
Right,
hard.
so it's like you can send the message being just, this is the message.
But nobody believed her.
Right, or you
When
can just be
when you
horrible
don't
to
tell
people,
the truth,
and that works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you don't tell the truth, like then, yeah, we're fine. We're going to go in a caravan instead of just by ourselves because nobody believed her.
I also think, Greg, to push back, and then I'll let you guys talk about it, he fired a whole bunch of people. Right? So his whole goal of reorganizing the federal government, very effective, no?
Are you kidding? I mean, the federal government.
The look on Greg's face right there. That was
Greg is
awesome.
disgusted by Leah's comment.
I love you guys. I mean, our country is a mess right now.
But his goal was to shrink the federal workforce that he said was bloated. I'm going to say he shrunk the federal workforce. I don't necessarily agree that it was bloated. I'm saying that was one of his goals and he met it.
Has he? I don't know. I'll push back on that a little bit because we're still in limbo with what the courts are ruling on whether or not they can fire all these people and whether or not the stuff DOGE did is actually constitutional.
And Taylor says, well, it's okay for him to change his mind. He changes his mind every day. I mean, let's shrink the workforce. Oh, we better hire some back because we did it wrong. Let's deport some people. Oops. What about that whole 14th Amendment due process thing? We forgot about that. I mean, everything tariffs. By the day we make decisions. There was a new tariff decision today.
Right,
and every one of them has been a failure. Every one of his tariff decisions has
Greg,
been.
just because you disagree with his goal doesn't mean he didn't meet his goal. Right? He has
You can't possibly say, Leah, that his
Sustained.
goal.
Objection sustained.
His goal was to bring the world to its knees. Was that his goal?
Yeah.
To destroy the world
Here's
economy?
where I'm going to agree with Greg, and it pains me to say this, but I really agree because we say that we've cut this bloated government and we've cut all these people and we've saved you so much money.
$430 billion in appropriated funds have been frozen or cut.
Frozen or cut. Does any of that go back to the Treasury? Is any of that going to pay down the debt? No, that is not the case. Congress has already passed a continuing resolution that kept spending levels the exact same. We haven't cut anything yet.
Okay, well, we're not done with this argument.
But we're trying, Adam.
Rusty, you need to be a little bit more vociferous here, Rusty. Come on. All right. Coming up, more analysis and discussion of President Trump's presidency so far next on Inside Sources.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Today, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy, and Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park, Hurricane. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Nia.
Hi, Nia. It's Jennifer. Did you know that Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, I work here.
Okay. I was just double checking. Get it?
Because Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, you get me, Nia.
You could say that I double get you.
I guess we've taken it too far.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant.
Ugh, I can't.
Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant.
How much more?
Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better.
Stay fresher under pressure.
Do you have chirping smoke detectors? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you've ever experienced chirping smoke detectors, you already know how annoying it can be. A great first step to try and stop the chirping is to change the batteries. If the chirping continues, it's possible that your smoke detector has gone bad. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even realize that manufacturers recommend replacing the smoke detector altogether after 10 years. If you remove the smoke detector from the wall, on the back you should find a date of when it was made. Do a little math and you'll know how old it is. Now, Any Hour Services knows being a homeowner means you've got a list a mile long of things to do around the house, and check my electrical system probably isn't one of them. That's why we've put together this radio special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive inspection of your electrical system that includes testing those smoke detectors and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. Call Any Hour Services to schedule it. 801-443-7300. 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. An important message about your timeshare from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. Contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about timeshare cancellation.
Call 800-885-7700. 800-885-7700.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave.
Oh, what a beautiful day.
This is regular deodorant.
Ugh, I can't.
Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant.
How much more?
Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better.
Stay fresher under pressure.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared.
Prevent your child's next asthma attack. Call 1-866-NO-ATTACKS. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor, because even one attack is one too many. Brought to you by the EPA and the Ad Council.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
In our last segment, we had an excellent conversation. Of course, Greg Skordas was wrong about everything, about the first 100 days of Donald Trump's presidency. You have got me, Leah Murray, and I am alongside all of my favorite people to talk about politics with: Aaron Ryder, Taylor Morgan, Rusty Cannon, Adam Gardner, and Greg Skordas. Rusty.
Yes.
I feel like you and I were on a page, which doesn't happen often.
Not
so
very
let's
often.
just celebrate that for the moment.
Mark the day.
Mark the date. Can you talk about, because I was making the case he was meeting his goals.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you might agree with me, and so I'm owning this segment and letting you go first.
Well, thank you.
What was your favorite goal, or what would you elevate?
So I would say the clear success that he has had is the border, right? And I get Greg's point of, many think that maybe he's not accomplishing his goals. I would say a lot of people don't agree with his methods of accomplishing the goal, or they just don't like the goal that he's trying to get to, but he's getting to it. And I think the border by far is number one for him in the immigration issue. If you look at the approval ratings on subcategories for him, that's the one area that has remained a bright spot. They are getting taken off message with this one person, but Adam talked about how
it's not just this one person, Rusty.
Well,
it's
on a couple,
few cases.
a few, but I think in general that has been his one bright spot. I think he is accomplishing generally what everybody expected him to do. That poll that rated him 39% approval, that was the ABC poll, built into that same poll, they asked independents the question. Well, they categorized them, right? Democrats, independents, Republicans. And of the independents that were asked, who do you trust to fix the economy? 60% said no on Trump, but 76% of independents said no on the Democrat Party. Meaning his opposition is worse off than he is.
So he's good because they're worse?
Well, what I'm saying is he's buying a little bit. He has a little bit more time because the opposition is so disorganized. Now, that doesn't make him any better. I'm just saying that that's the situation he's in. I think he's got a little bit of leeway there because
buy more time.
Yeah, it buys him more time. However, I will say on tariffs, which I think is his worst issue, if he doesn't get that figured out in the next 30 days before this July timeline comes through, the 60 days, It's hooped. Like he needs to win some deals on this, or what in the world did we do that for? Like,
right,
there was
because
no
he was
reason
going
to
to
do it.
negotiate 90 unilateral trade deals or bilateral trade deals in 90 days, and I think we've gone 30 days.
Well,
like
and he's lost
said.
all leverage. I mean, if I'm a foreign country at this point, I would look at the U.S. and go, yeah, go ahead, President. Go ahead and continue tanking your stock market. We're not going to help you.
Right.
Like, he's lost all leverage. I don't see how he makes a single deal.
I want to point out that he has said that he's negotiating with over 200 countries right now. And since there's only 195 countries, I think we're doing better than perfect.
There's just numbers, Adam. Come on. Just numbers. Again, don't take
it's really
him literally.
Specific,
just
Adam.
Take him
Give him
seriously.
some credit. Come on.
I will not. I do want to add, there's two more bright spots. Because I criticize him a lot, but there's two other points that I think he's doing really well at, and that's energy and lands. That's important to Utah. That's important to a lot of coastal communities, offshore drilling, ANWR energy costs. That's important to Utahns. That's important to everyone in the country. Those successes get lost because of this other stupid
in
stuff.
the noise. Yeah.
Yes, and that's not just noise, because it's a big deal what's happening on the periphery here with tariffs and the stock market and other things. But for Utah, that's a big deal. The governor posted on X that he's really grateful that we have a president that he can actually work with, that's saying yes to a lot of things that Utah wants to do, where the last administration just said no to everything, and not just to red states, to blue states as well. No, we're handling everything. It's kind of nice.
Taylor Morgan, I wanted to get your thoughts. Do you think, one, is Rusty right that the fact that the Democrats are just really not an excellent team to be playing against does give the president time to kind of recoup some of these losses? And do you agree that whatever is happening, right, doesn't, how do I say, cast a long shadow into Utah politics? Because even though there's a lot of things happening, the stuff that affects us directly maybe is going well?
That's a complicated question, Professor
You are
Murray.
up to the challenge.
Well, I do think it's true that Democrats nationally, Democrats in Congress, are still trying to find their way in terms of who they are, what they stand for, what they have to offer, American voters. I think they have been simply the party of anti-Trump for so long that they're capitalizing, right, on the messiness of the Trump administration right now. But they have got to develop a constructive, positive message for voters. Otherwise, we're just going to get a Trump light in 2028. Democrats have got to identify a leader and an agenda.
Well, here's one of my questions. So, Rusty and Adam, you both were talking about this. Trump has a little bit of leverage right now. He's got more leeway than he did in his first term because he's reelected. Right? Like there's a separation in his term, and so voters are bringing him back, saying, "All right, we're going to give you more leverage to go do what you're claiming to do." But kind of to Rusty's point, how long does that leverage go? Like how long? We're talking about the first 100 days, but it's also just 100 days of a 4-year term. So at what point do we think, the numbers might be in the tank now, but everybody's also saying, we know this is going to be complicated. We know this is going to take time. Trump himself is saying that. Be patient. Work with me. Be patient. But, how long do we wait?
I think inside baseball in D.C., I can guarantee you congressional offices and Senate offices are sending incoming fire to the White House. And I think if you get to August and he hasn't turned things around,
August too.
Yeah, August hasn't turned around,
well.
you will then have people that are up for your election next year. They will draw primary opponents in the fall that'll be like, hey, knock it off. You figure this out or you're going to mess up my re-election. I'm not going to stand for it. Meaning when it starts to really, because Trump will never be on a ballot again. Let's bag this whole third term thing. He's never going to be on a ballot again. So he can kind of run some things into the ground. But at some point, the others that have a lot at stake, congressional and Senate candidates, they're going to say, you need to knock this off. Turn your A game back on and quit messing everything up because you're hurting me. And I think that could come to a crescendo starting in August. If he hasn't turned this around by August, I think it's going to be a problem.
Well, that's a dynamic that has been interesting to me because I do think that Trump is operating as a president who has nothing to lose, right? Because say what he wants, put out all the hats that he wants. He's not getting a third term. So he can kind of do whatever he wants. And I don't think he's enough of a team player from, a Republican team standpoint to really care in a lot of ways about the midterms. So there's this question, again, of at what point does that pressure build too much? Because one thing he does care about is his legacy and his approval ratings and public opinion of him and his ability to control the narrative. If that narrative starts to get away from him, right? But there's an interesting tension there.
Greg, I was going to ask, were we off target on saying that the Democrat Party just has no leader at this point? I'm trying to think, and I'm trying to be fair.
No, you're completely on
about
target
saying,
with that.
You name any,
right.
Certainly not going to, please nominate AOC, amen. But, or Bernie Sanders or others, it seems like the roots of the party will not let the Democrat Party move back to the middle. They're continuing to pull them left, which I think gives you a similar result as what you had just am I wrong?
If Chuck Schumer is the current face of the Democrats, we're in trouble. We're in deep trouble. And somebody needs to come forward. I really did, Rusty. I really thought after the Democratic convention last year that they coalesced, they came around a candidate, but it didn't work. It didn't work at all. And you nailed it right at the beginning. We were talking about the convention, and you said Kamala Harris is the best thing that can happen to the Republicans. I remember you saying that. And I thought, no, this is the best thing that happened to the Democrats. I guessed it wrong. You got it right. The Democrats don't have a leader right now. They don't have an agenda. They don't have a clear message. There's a huge swath of Americans that don't know what to do because the Republicans have gone too far this way. The Democrats have gone too far to the left. And 65% of the country doesn't know who to trust right now or where the country's going.
Pick one, Josh Shapiro or Gavin Newsom.
Or Gretchen Whitmer.
Okay, yeah.
Right, which I think is kind of interesting because she just scored a win with President Trump in her state and a conversation around, does that hurt her politically going forward? Or, right, because maybe everyone on those stages in a couple of years are going to say, here are pictures of her with Donald Trump. Or does it help her because she actually looks like someone who says, I'm not reflexively anti-Trump. I'm actually willing to do work, across the aisle to benefit my state.
Yeah, no, great suggestion. I think Democrats have some real possibilities. I really do. Yet, unfortunately, we see national Democrats trotting out Bernie and AOC, who were just here in Salt Lake City doing the rally. That's great. I realize they represent perhaps a more progressive portion of the party, and that's fine. But Democrats have really got to coalesce behind someone.
All right, so this is so much fun to have politics conversation with all of you. After the break, our final special edition of Inside Sources continues with more hot takes on President Trump's first 100 days in office. Stay with us.
When I was a kid, my parents got me a subscription to Newsweek magazine. I would devour every page into the night. And to this day, I sit on my iPad looking for stories for my minute of news, flesh out our coverage, and I get to share the news with you.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shaleos. KSL's top story this hour. One of Elizabeth Smart's kidnappers has been arrested and accused of violating the terms of the sex offender registry. Salt Lake City police say Wandi Barzi visited 2 local parks recently, saying the Lord commanded her to visit them. The 79-year-old was booked into jail and then released. She served time in both federal and state prison for kidnapping Smart, along with Brian Mitchell, who is serving a life sentence. Our top national story this hour. The Port of Seattle expects a 40% drop in shipments later this month due to uncertainty surrounding tariffs. Port Commissioner Ryan Calkin says less cargo coming in also means fewer U.S.-made products going out.
Port of Seattle is a major agricultural exporter, and when imports are frozen because of these tariffs, it means that we also don't have an opportunity to export those agricultural goods.
Calkin says shoppers may start feeling the pinch by mid-May with higher prices and fewer products on shelves. Some retail analysts are warning of COVID-like shortages and layoffs. We got new numbers this morning with 177,000 jobs added nationally last month. That's down from 228,000 the prior month, but above economists' expectations. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow up by 605 points. That's about 1.5%, sitting at 41,361. S&P is up by 90 points. The Nasdaq up by 282 points. That is 1.5%. How warm is it going to get for your Saturday? We'll take a look coming up next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Are you looking to invest in your home, increase its livability, increase its value, increase its curb appeal? Well, doors and windows are a great place to start, and there's no better place to start than Peach Doors and Windows.
Maybe the purpose of your home has changed. Maybe you're an empty nester, or you just want to maximize the view of your home. Bring Peach your wish list. Think about out-of-the-box shapes and sizes. What you can imagine, Peach Doors and Windows can make happen. They can do renovations that other companies simply won't touch.
You can check out all of their 5-star reviews on Google, where customers rate Peach throughout every step of the process. From sales to installation, they will make sure you get exactly what you want. Check out their website at peachbuildingproducts.com. You can give them a call, 801-566-1255. They do free in-home estimates.
Or better yet, check them out in person, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. They're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, or check them out online, peachbuildingproducts.com.
Get better business banking at Mountain America Credit Union. Yes, the credit union. We offer all the financial products and services businesses need, like SBA loans, commercial real estate, cash management, and credit cards. Plus, at Mountain America, you'll enjoy thoughtful professional guidance. There's a reason we're the #1 business banking solution. See for yourself at macu.com/business. Insured by NCUA. Loans on approved credit. Membership required based on eligibility.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out, because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. And Michelle Rowe, what's happening on the roads?
Well, we do have some good news for drivers. We did have a serious crash northbound I-15 just south of 123rd South. That crash has cleared, but the delays are still straggling from prior to that all the way down to all the way down into the Lehigh area, going all the way in spots all the way up to the 6 South entrance at downtown. Now, again, we do have that crash cleared, but you are going to see the worst of it right as you're approaching Bangerter Highway. Another true David versus Goliath miracle movie from director T.C. Christensen. See Raising the Bar, a story of a high jumper, Alma Richards' journey from rural Utah to an Olympic gold medal. In theaters now. Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
You can expect us to hit a high of 81 degrees tomorrow. Just a very slight chance of showers. That chance of showers increasing on Sunday to about a 50% chance, and the high dropping about 10 degrees down to 72. Right now, 72 degrees downtown. I'm Maria Shaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
All right, we are back. We are continuing our conversation about the first 100 days of President Donald Trump's second administration. We've been kind of all over the place on a whole bunch of things. You've got us here for our last special episode of Inside Sources. And I want to take a little bit of a shift now while we're still talking about the administration. And I want to talk about DOGE and the effectiveness of DOGE. And I also want to talk about the cabinet and how we feel about the members of the president's cabinet. So, Adam, let's start. Remember, there are multiple people here that need to talk.
Wait, Adam, all of us can sprint because you're running ahead.
Okay, let's start with, well, where do you want to start? You want to start with DOGE or you want to start with the cabinet?
I want to start with the cabinet.
All right, let's start with the cabinet.
Okay. I don't know if you all caught the cabinet meeting that looked like a North Korean cabinet meeting the other day. I think cabinet meetings are a waste of time. They're open to the press and they all come in and it's a show and they're really dumb.
It's like a congressional hearing.
Yes. But at least there's some like a little bit of back and forth and each side gets to question each other. But here, the entire purpose of the cabinet meetings is to say how great Donald Trump is at everything. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, started off by saying, Mr. President, no president in the history of the world has had a greater first 100 days than you. All hail Donald Trump. And then she said, and I want you to know that we have taken 400 million doses of fentanyl, whatever the number is, a crazy huge number, which is an awesome win. And she says, we've taken all of this fentanyl off the street. And you personally, Mr. President, have saved 258 million lives. And I'm like, whoa, she saved like 2/3 of the country. He saved 2/3 of the country. This guy's awesome. She's like, the kids just want to buy Adderall and aspirin and they're getting fentanyl and dying. All the kids. What are we talking about? And it was like every single cabinet secretary went around the table and he just bowed. Yes, I have done all this. That was me. It's a show. And I get that it's a show in every administration, but this is
It's never been a show in any administration like that. I've never seen anything like that.
Biden wasn't awake for his, so they could just
That's right.
Yo,
Joe.
They didn't have one.
Right, yeah, right.
Well, okay, Rusty Cannon,
Yeah.
are you gonna argue with Adam here?
No,
I
will
dare
say,
you, man. I dare.
I'm going to do my best to counteract Adam's wonderful insight. There are some phenomenal individuals in his cabinet. When he was naming cabinet members, I was thinking most of the nominations, awesome. There was one that was not good, but he was tossed quickly, and that was Matt Gaetz. But most of those people around the table, very capable individuals. I agree with Adam. I was quite surprised at how void of, I'm trying to think of the right word.
Substance
or reality in the cabinet meeting. It was literally like, I'm going to just tell the one person in the room how wonderful they are. I don't think that's productive. I don't think it's helpful. And that gets to this other question I want to dive into. I'd be curious to see what Taylor thinks. Is the president getting good advice? I'm worried that there are so many yes men and yes women around him that all they're doing is what they did publicly in this meeting.
Yeah, quick answer, no. He's not getting any good advice. I don't think he necessarily would take it. I think these people are there to congratulate President Trump, right? They're not there to consult or advise him. He doesn't need that from them, right? They're simply there to congratulate President Trump and point out everything that he's doing right. Right? These are his cheerleaders. This is his echo chamber. We have to talk about the most important takeaway, though, from this cabinet meeting. How have we not talked about the hats? The hat situation, right? Did you see the hats?
No. What?
Oh, my goodness.
Elon?
The entire
yes.
the table, right, in the cabinet room there, every single member of the cabinet had a bright red Gulf of America hat laid out right in front of their name card. It was crazy. And I've never seen so many red ties in one meeting in my life. And I've been to a lot of general conference sessions and never seen that many red ties and white shirts in one place.
So I just want to add, you could really, color me surprised because I'm on the same page as conservative commentator Ann Coulter, who wrote on X, would it be possible to have a cabinet meeting without the Kim Jong-il style tributes? So let me just ask my Republican friends in the room.
Wait, I want to. Did you just say you agree with Ann Coulter?
Yeah, mark the point.
Okay, I was
right?
going to say, this is recorded, so let's keep
but
that.
But a little bit, she is saying, I think, what we are saying, right? Which is, this is ridiculous. Do you think these kind of shows, how do I say, like, does that start to break the back, like the kind of absolute adoration that we see out in the American public for the president? Does this actually help him?
No. Here's the thing. If you are a staunch supporter of Donald Trump and were going into this administration, you still are. And it's just, well, we haven't had enough time yet for him to do what he needs to do. But you're not watching cabinet meetings, and you don't really care because the whole focus is Donald Trump and what he wants to do in office. And he's the one that you wanted elected. He's the one who's doing the job. So what the cabinet does is important, but only insofar as it is furthering what Trump wants to do. And, you think about it, too, to Taylor and Rusty's point about advice. Trump had 4 years to think about what he would do in office if he had the White House again. He had 4 years to sit there with one term behind him and knowing, getting ready for the second run. I don't know that he is interested in advice, maybe the way that you would be otherwise, because he's walking in saying, I already know how to do this. I've done it once. Yeah. I have what I want to do. I have my agenda, and that's it. End of story. Taylor, you disagree with me?
No, well, no, not really. I just want to make the point that I think all of the accoutrement, all of the circus, the theater surrounding Donald Trump, that is just who he is. That's his brand. That's who he's always been, whether it's in business or in politics, right? Donald Trump puts the razzle and the dazzle, and his voters like that. They expect it. They want it. And it is a little bit of a circus sideshow. But at the same time, this is just who he is.
Right, but is it who the Republican Party is?
It's,
so what I'm
it's never been. It is now.
Right, but that's my question.
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know that it is, though.
For now. Well, we know here in Utah, right? Recent polling has shown here in Utah, among Utah Republicans, the party is split 44% to 41% among Utah Republicans for party first Republicans versus Trump first Republicans. So there's not a lot of a margin there, right? It's Donald Trump's party right now. It's his party. It's his circus, and he is the clown.
But the MAGA movement is a populist movement, and populism doesn't last. In many ways, it's cannibalistic in nature, right? Like it feeds off of anger and frustration and rooting out all the people that you don't want.
It's a French Revolution. You should ask Rusty about shooting holes in the boat. He can tell you all about it.
That's right. We put that a few times on the show. That was Reagan talking about his view on tariffs and how just because the other person in the boat with you shoots a hole in the boat, you say, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to shoot a bigger hole in the boat. That's what he's doing on tariffs, and the point of that.
And that's what populism is, I think.
That is populism at this point.
So I don't think this is the Republican Party. I think this is a moment in time for the Republican Party where very valid concerns are being raised up and being brought to the foreground, and Donald Trump is the one who's pushing it forward. But who replaces Donald Trump when he's no longer there? Who has the charisma? Who has the ability to pull this together the way Donald Trump has? I don't know that anybody in the Republican Party
I think
does.
there's a deep bench ready to follow him. We can talk about that next.
Okay.
Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey. Isn't he a Democrat? Isn't Matthew McConaughey a Democrat?
No, Matthew McConaughey.
How dare you, Rusty? Matthew McConaughey is a good Texas Republican. Come on.
All right.
I thought he was a Democrat. Sorry.
You know what? We'll leave that as our tease for the next segment. We're going to continue with our final special edition of Inside Sources. More hot takes on President Trump's first 100 days
and
in
Matthew
office.
McConaughey.
And Matthew McConaughey and the future of the Republican Party. Stay with us.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100 or go to advancedwindows.com.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
This is Christian Staples with Arctic Spas. What is the number one reason people buy a hot tub and then don't use it? The maintenance. Arctic Spas is relentless in making maintenance easy with our automatic saltwater system. We call it Spa Boy because it's like having someone else take care of your spa for you all the time. It uses salt water, which is the more natural way of treating water, making the water more comfortable. You get no smell, no red eyes, or dry skin, just pure enjoyment. It's automatic because it has a sensor that reads the water and then automatically adjusts the sanitizer and the pH. You don't have to test and adjust the water yourself. You can even monitor everything from your Arctic Spa app on your phone. Now, get all the relaxing advantages of a hot tub without the not-so-relaxing maintenance. So for the most comfortable and convenient spa out there, check out Arctic Spas with stores covering all of Utah in Salt Lake, American Fork, and St. George, or online at arcticspasutah.com. Arctic Spas, the only spa built for Utah's harsh climate.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
If you've got a honey-do list with electrical, plumbing, heating, or air conditioning projects on it, Any Hour Services can help. Call Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
You're back with the Inside Sources team as we discuss all the most interesting things happening in the world for the best 2 hours of radio you possibly could be listening to. Greg Skordas, I feel like in our last segment when we were all ripping on that cabinet display, you didn't really get a chance to shine. And since I tease you all the time, let me elevate you here without a tease. Greg, what do you think about that cabinet?
Well, I was listening to Rusty talk about that he felt like it was a good cabinet and that the selections were good. And so I sort of, because Rusty looks like he was probably once a great basketball player, I thought I'd tell you about my dream team here. Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Linda McMahon, Christy Noem, and off the bench, Tulsi Gabbard. These are people, Rusty, who have no business serving in their current positions. I mean, they're yes men and women. They are, in my opinion, not qualified for what they've done, what they're doing. And they are, I think that the cabinet is selected for one purpose, and that is to further the president's agenda and not serve in the capacity that they're meant to serve. And I just say that with all respect, because you know the situation better than I do, but I just look at names like that and what I've seen them do, and I'm embarrassed.
I was talking about the other cabinet members.
No,
You've got your own dream team. You've got your own dream
It's
team.
unfair that I just got cross-examined by like the best lawyer in Utah, and he had his paperwork, everything circled and everything.
And you know, I love you like a brother.
And the judge now looks at me and like, "Do you have a rebuttal?"
Right.
No, I don't. But I mean, I get your point. I was actually talking about some of the other cabinet members, to be truthful, but some of those I think have the potential to be good. I was quite disappointed in, like, the resume for Pam Bondi. I thought
She's
looked
got an
pretty
awesome
good.
resume.
A wonderful resume.
Chrissy Nome, awesome resume.
Yeah, wonderful resume. Just
Although really all she's done is brought glam to the Department of Homeland Security. Let's be honest.
But I think the language she was using as Adam was lining out in the cabinet meeting, I'm like, come on, Pam. I mean, you can do better than that, to your point. But well said, Greg.
But it's also, that's the purpose of a president's cabinet, is to further their agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want. But you want a cross-section of ideas, hopefully, not necessarily a team of rivals. You don't have to have that. But you want some different thoughts and some experts that you can just say, hey, Pam Bondi, you are a qualified attorney. Go run your Justice Department.
Can I ask you a question? I want to just ask, because this was a show, and with the red hats and all the merch and like everything, it's a big show. Maybe it is the case that behind closed doors, Pam Bondi is the resume that you all were impressed by. Maybe it is behind the case that Pete Hegseth is the resume that I remember Rusty being impressed by.
Yeah.
What do you think of the odds? And we'll let Greg answer first of that being true.
0.
Greg was ready with
Did you see
that.
how fast he said
0%. I mean, Pete Hegseth's qualifications, what are they? That he served in the military for a little while? That he went crazy when he was in college or something?
Have you seen Pete Hegseth do pull-ups, Greg?
No.
Have you seen that man exercise?
Well, I rest my case, Your Honor.
But I think what intrigued me about Pete Hegseth when he was floated was his, I would say, lower tier experience in the military. I thought, and the way it was marketed was, he can shake it up because he has that bottom-up perspective versus being a jaded general that's been at the top of the bureaucracy.
I absolutely agree with that.
And so he can shake it up. And I'm not surprised that the top bureaucracy of the military, I think, likely is fighting wholeheartedly against him because he wants to upset it. And so I think he's getting a bad rap. However, he has stepped in a few things on his own and completely blown it here and there.
Well, I mean, okay, to Leah's point here, I do think that the cabinet members are legitimately trying to do a good job, and they're out there doing what they can. And yes, I think some of them are very good picks. But I also think they get sidelined by what President Trump does, and there's not maybe great communication as to what's happening. For example, everything yesterday with Mike Waltz now suddenly being moved to the UN ambassador. We have Marco Rubio, who's taking over national security, and the State Department press secretary had no idea that it was happening until one of the members of the press told her about it. Right? Like, I don't know that there's great communication.
I think you have a couple people that are giving advice to Donald Trump. I think it's Stephen Miller. I think it's Peter Navarro and others. Excuse me.
Yeah.
They're giving advice to Donald Trump. Nobody else gets in the room. So your Secretary of Agriculture, who has never, by the way, been in agriculture in her entire life, she's not getting a minute with the president. And neither is Pam Bondi. Maybe Pam Bondi, maybe your Attorney General. But nobody else is. Marco is. They're giving him a lot. So the way that you get to Trump's heart is you have to say awesome things about him. And you're the greatest. And so when you're there, because that's how you get access. If you don't do that, you get no access.
So maybe this is brilliant moves that we mocked in the last segment, right, Adam? Like maybe this is what Pam Bondi has to do. This is what Doug Burgum has to do to be able to get into the room to do the work.
But like a Doug Burgum, which I love Doug Burgum.
Yeah.
I think he's a great Interior Secretary. He's awesome. But he's not doing all of this stuff.
Well, but does
you don't
he
hear
want
from
to
him,
be there?
and I feel like
I'm sorry,
he doesn't care.
But the quote in the last segment when I said, you're running ahead of us, so you're sprinting, that was Doug Burgum. So actually, he was all a part of that fawning episode at the cabinet. They all are.
But here's the thing. If you're Doug Burgum, do you really want to have President Trump's attention on what you're doing with Interior?
Oh, I don't think you...
you want to be able to go out and do what you want to do, but I don't know, maybe you don't really want to be the limelight. Let the State Department, let education, let some of these other places take a lot of the attention, and you just get to go do the work and then take credit for it and give credit to the president and just stay on the president's good side.
Just not get fired. The goal is to not get fired.
Is that just a strategy in and of itself?
So I got a question for everybody based on this cabinet, everyone around that table. Who steps up for 2028? Is it Vance and no one else, or can any of these people supplant him?
Well, let me ask you, Rusty. So Vice President J.D. Vance in this cabinet show said that the presidents whose portraits adorned the Oval Office, including Reagan, James Madison, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, were mere placeholders. So you just tell me, when a man has that much disrespect for American history, how as a conservative do you support that?
Well,
Not that you did. I'm asking.
All of the blood just drained from this.
I apologize. I didn't mean that, Rusty. What I mean is, like, you were saying who would step up, and I'm like, if this is what I'm doing, is fawning so that Trump thinks I'm great and I don't get fired. And part of my fawning has to throw under the bus founding fathers and Abraham Lincoln, who founded my party, and Ronald Reagan, who you like to quote with the bullets in the boat. I'm not saying like that you like J.D. Vance. I'm asking you to explain to me how you graft that onto American history if it's not Donald Trump, because he's a disruptive moment.
But that has nothing to do with them running. That means he's definitely going to run.
Yeah. So, like, my question was if anybody can supplant or displace J.D. Vance as the obvious frontrunner for the next presidential candidate.
Right. And my question is, how do conservatives support somebody who fawns that
Vance.
way? Yes, right.
Well, I think that's what the primary process is for. He's got to, make his case. Otherwise, he will be supplanted, like a Marco Rubio or someone else, I think. And saying something like that is probably a really bad idea.
I think Greg, our resident Democrat, has something to say about this.
I need to push back on you, Rusty, and I haven't yet tonight. But you keep saying that the obvious front runner for the Republican Party is the person you said was the absolute person who's not going to run. It's Donald Trump. And I know you say that's a farce, that's not going to happen. The 22nd Amendment prohibits it. But you remember January 6, 2021. Remember what happened then? You wait till January 6, 2029. Something equally bad is going to happen, and Trump is going to find a way to stay in that office. I don't know what it is yet.
I got it, Greg. I can tell you.
He's going to be Vance's vice president.
Well, Vance is going to run, and Donald Trump will be appointed Speaker of the House. He doesn't have to be elected to get that. And then he'll conveniently move from Speaker to President. They'll figure it out, Greg. I'm sure there's a plan. Don't worry about it.
Rusty, bring some
Don't worry
reason.
about it, Greg. Don't worry about it.
I don't put any credibility into the idea that he tries to pull that off in 2020. I don't think the American people would stand for it. I think we have been dealing with Donald Trump now for how long now? 10 years? I think his time's done.
All right, in our final hour of Inside Sources, we're going to go a little meta and share our thoughts about the future of the nation and the state. We're going to let Greg be dark if he needs to be. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shaleos. KSL's top story this hour. 7 people are dead after a crash involving a pickup truck and a tour van near Yellowstone. Idaho State Police say the crash happened around 7 o'clock last night on a highway near Henry's Lake State Park, which is about 16 miles west of Yellowstone. Both vehicles caught fire after they collided, killing the pickup's driver and 6 out of 14 people in the tour group's van. The cause of the crash is under investigation. It's been 30 years since 15-year-old Kiplin Davis went to Spanish Fork High School and never came home. Despite decades of searching, there's still no sign of her. Her sister Carissa hasn't given up. She says her family has had the support of their community since day one.
Spanish Fork has been very supportive, my family over the years, and they want Kiplin to be home,
The family hopes someone with answers will speak up. Now, if you know anything, contact Spanish Fork Police. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The White House is out with its 2026 budget proposal. Calls for $163 billion in cuts to federal spending, targeting the Department of Education, the Department of Health and Human Services, USAID, and the EPA. It'll be up to Congress to go over the numbers and to approve a budget. And taking a look at your money at this moment at the close, the Dow up by 576 points, sitting at 41,329. S&P 500 up by 85, and the NASDAQ up by 261 points. That's 1.5%. Looks like a beautiful Saturday on tap. An update of the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time 2:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Hit it.
It's time to spring into summer with Soda Weight Loss, because right now you'll get our biggest discount of the year.
Are you serious? Just 3 weeks in, and the pounds are dropping off very quickly. I am down 26 pounds in 3 weeks.
Every single day, Soda Weight Loss is helping people let go of the weight without drugs, without hunger, and the weight stays off.
I let go of 50 pounds. It felt unreal. I was so proud of myself. My body did exactly what it wanted to do. I just gave it its tools.
Let's spring into summer right now with Soda Weight Loss. If you want to look like this for summer, now is the time to join America's #1 weight loss company for client satisfaction and results.
Remember, this is our best offer of the year, so let's go.
Get started now at sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. And Michelle Rowe is in the KSL Traffic Center.
Looking at some new trouble, Maria, northbound I-15. This is in the South Salt Lake area, starting just past 3300 South, headed up toward the I-80 interchange there. We don't have a cause for it yet, but it looks like it might be possibly a wreck due to how much slowdown there is through that area. So again, you're going to want to allow several extra minutes to get through that. Prior to that, you're seeing a little bit of slowing from the point of the mountain all the way up into about 5300 South in spots. Now for drivers headed southbound I-15, we also have a crash there, 146 South off to the right. The secret to healthy, thriving plants is great soil. Oakdale Farms Organic Compost is a game changer for your veggie garden, flower beds, and trees. Oakdale Farms Organic Compost at oakdale.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're headed for a high of 76 today. Tomorrow, though, a great day to get out in the yard. 81 for a high. Very slight chance of showers. Then the showers move in on Sunday. The high down to 72 and a 50% chance of rain. Right now, 72 degrees downtown. I'm Maria Shaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Throughout the past several months on Inside Sources, and for a few years before that on KSL at night, you've heard a myriad of thoughts, takes, and analyses on the direction of the country and the state.
Different voices, clearly some much more, astute than others, have offered their thoughts on the biggest political events and stories of the day.
So with all of that behind us, what about the future? How do we feel about the current state of the country and the state of Utah? What do we hope will change or continue?
Today is our last Inside Sources. You've got me, Leah Murray, Aaron Ryder, Taylor Morgan, Rusty Cannon, Addie Gardner, and Greg Skordas. Thank you so much for spending our last day with us. Welcome to the show.
Let's talk about this. So we have finished in the first hour of Inside Sources today. We've been talking about President Trump's first 100 days. We've talked about his cabinet. We've talked about a number of things there. I think we shift that conversation now towards the future of the country, just the United States. How do we feel like the direction of the country is going? We can talk about Congress a little bit in that if we want, the judiciary, and then after this we'll get into the state and how we feel about the state. But Greg, I want to ask you this. You're an attorney, and you and I, when we host together, we talk a lot about the Constitution and constitutional law. How do you feel about the state of the country, the future of the country, where we're going, some of these constitutional issues that have come up? I personally think it's a fascinating time from a constitutional law standpoint because there are so many things that are being pushed on right now. But Leah's going to go after me for saying the word fascinating.
A lot of people have talked, Aaron, about a constitutional crisis, and I don't think we're there yet. But I think that we're going to test the limits of the Constitution. And I say that, and we could talk about the state too, but let's talk federally. We have a very, very strong executive. We have Congress that's asleep at the wheel. We don't know what they're doing. I can't think of anything Congress has done in the first 100 days. And we have a judiciary that's doing what they can nationally to hold the line. But at what point do we, if it occurs, does Trump or his people say to the Supreme Court, we don't care? I mean, at what point do we continue to not turn the plane around when a judge says turn the plane around? Because when that happens, that's when you're talking about a constitutional crisis. When one branch says time out, you've gone too far, and the other branch says we don't care what you think. And I'm personally worried about that because Congress just won't do anything, and our court is teetering. I mean, we've got two justices, let's face it, who will do whatever Trump says. Scalia and Thomas. They will do whatever Trump says. And
not
they will.
Scalia's not there.
I'm sorry.
Samuel
Alito. I'm sorry.
Although
Scalia.
It would be interesting to see what
right.
Scalia
Okay.
would have done.
Alito and Thomas.
Yeah.
And then the rest are kind of mixed, and surprisingly, some of them are fairly strong. Some of them have taken a position that I wouldn't have expected. And so I think the court is holding the country together right now. I really do think the court is keeping the administration from going in a direction that even I think the people most far on the right are not comfortable with this country going. But that elastic band is getting pretty tight, and if it snaps, I think we're in trouble.
Can I, Greg, sorry, I need to yum your yuck here a little bit, put a little silver lining on this maybe. I can't recall a time in my life, and I've worked in politics professionally and been involved in politics even outside of professional life, but I can't recall another time in my life when so many people I know, my neighbors, my friends, acquaintances, people who are typically not at all politically engaged, right? These people are paying attention. They are watching the news. Some of them like Trump. A lot of them have concerns about Trump, but they are all, I think, really tuning into this constitutional, the checks, the balances, the way American democracy is set up to work. There's, I think, a lot more political awareness and engagement right now. Maybe that's a positive thing.
Yeah, and I don't know, Rusty, let me just push back a little bit. Well, not push back, but ask you, does there come a point when Congress when the Republicans in Congress do say, hey, wait a minute, we've got to stand for election here in 2 years. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should draw the line. Do you think that there's going to be a Republican coalition that will do that?
I think there could be. I will, to your example of him telling the court, it may be possibly at some point saying, I don't care what the Supreme Court says. Our last president said that very same thing. Biden said, and I was with a less controversial topic with student debt forgiveness. He said, I don't care what this. He said, I'm just going to do it anyway. So there has been precedent to where somebody has done that. So, but in answer to your question, yes, I think the Republicans can unify. The question is, will they in this case? They recently did, and I think that's what threw Schumer into so much trouble in Congress when they banded together and got all of the Freedom Caucus to go for that CR. It was kind of a boring subject, but that changed the game, because before Schumer and everybody knew, hey, those guys can't get along with each other. We'll just stand firm here and they'll blow themselves up. Well, they finally didn't, and they got the CR through, and then Schumer took all the heat because he can do a thing about it. So I think if that happens again, yes, they could unify. I don't think we'll get to a point, I certainly hope, where this presidential administration is literally telling the Supreme Court, we don't care what you say. Because you're right, that's not a good scenario. I just don't think that's going to happen. As much as he blusters, I don't think that's going to happen.
I think the problem with Congress, too, is that when you have such a slim majority, you don't have the luxury of having a coalition that can band together, because the Democrats have no incentive to join any sort of coalition like that to help right now. And so you're dealing with members of the House Freedom Caucus and others who, but even there you have a split. People are not on the same page with how they want things to go. But when that majority is razor thin, you just don't have the luxury of really doing much. Like you're kind of just surviving. I also just want to take a second and recognize that Mara Carabello is joining us. Welcome to the conversation, Mara.
Thanks. Nice to be here. Join this illustrious group. I'm going to jump in and maybe disagree with you a little, Aaron.
Oh.
So the Bernie Manchin effect, the Joe Manchin effect tells us that's not true. We saw that on the CR, actually. When you saw the continuing resolution, you saw Congress. The good bad is what you're saying is everybody's entrenched, and that's true. And until we decide that we care more about passing legislation than we care about being tribal, we're going to see what we're seeing, which is a continuation of what we saw under the Biden administration and, frankly, probably for the last 10 years. But what we did see with the continuing resolution is behind-the-scenes deal-making between the wings of the party, because what you know is 5-6 members walk, and you're there. You don't need majorities anymore. You need individuals. So that does create opportunities for alliances if you can get the parties, which I don't think they are, if you can get the parties persuaded that they want to do something. And I don't think they are, and I think we have about 4 minutes before they just start setting up for midterms, and that means nothing's going to happen. But I am a little optimistic about the fact that 5 or 10 reps or senators, as the case may be, could actually open a conversation if they chose to.
Oh, okay, so you're taking the other standpoint, saying if you had members of the Republican Party say, you know what, we're tired of this, and we know that because our majority is razor thin, we're going to force you to the table to have a conversation. So you're flipping it on its head.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say that this is all done behind the scenes. This is not going to be done on the committee table. But I'm saying, as we saw before with those razor edges, you could also, if you can find a topic that you could sell to your district and you could find something to peel off, you uniquely, I mean, when power is less balanced, you have to be able to marshal some pretty big numbers. Now you could marshal a handful of people and they can disrupt the process if they choose to in the name of passing something. And that's, I'm a little dubious about the part where they want to get something passed, but in terms of process, I think that the 50-50 split in some ways provides some different parliamentarian options to getting things done.
You know, I think you could make a case. That's a great point, Mara, where I think even some of Utah's delegation could pick an issue where they could stand up to the president on. And I think they'd be quite popular in Utah. So I think that's a good point.
I just wonder if they would, if the threat of being primaried or the threat of, Donald Trump coming at them would be too much to even go about that. And, I guess we'll see. We have, even within the Democratic Party, right, we have the vice chair of the Democratic Party saying he wants to primary asleep at the wheel Democrats. Donald Trump has basically kind of done the same thing with Republicans. All right, well, stay with us. We're going to be back for more conversations on this. We'll probably shift to the state and talk about the state coming up next.
We're in St. George, and Jenny found a home online that she really loved.
And then we went through it with our realtor. He started pointing out things that were going to just lead us to a money pit.
We would have been in this house $50,000 or more in repairs.
With the help of our realtor, we were able to find a brand new home for $100,000 less than what we would have been paying for one that was 12 years older. We thought we were going to save money not using a realtor, but in the end, our realtor actually saved us over $150,000.
Let an experienced realtor guide you. Go to myrealtorstory.com.
An emergency can happen any second.
Here's a few seconds to think about where you'd go. When you need medical care fast, the closest emergency room is a smart thing to know. Common Spirit Health ERs are your direct path between feeling scared or uncomfortable and feeling better. Find emergency care in your neighborhood at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-371-0505. 800-371-0505.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better. Stay fresher under pressure.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Today, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy, and Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park, Hurricane. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. In October of 1985, a woman named Cherie Warren left work at a busy Salt Lake City office
to meet her estranged husband at a downtown auto dealership.
She never made it home. Cherie's car surfaced weeks later in Las Vegas.
In the parking lot of a hotel casino.
No one knows how it got there.
Strange. It was strange.
Both Cherie's estranged husband and her boyfriend raised suspicion for investigators.
I kind of thought that he might have done something.
But no arrests were ever made. In Cold Season 3, we dig into double lives, make new connections in the case, and examine the difficulty raised by reasonable doubt.
We want answers just as much as anyone else.
They have creeps like that now too, so nothing's changed.
That's the new Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, now available anywhere you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
You are back with the greatest group of people assembled to have a conversation about politics in the afternoon. You've got me, Leah Murray, alongside Aaron Ryder, Taylor Morgan, Rusty Cannon, Adam Gardner, Greg Skordas, and the fabulous Mara Carabella. I'm so happy that you all are here with us to hear all these great comments. Now, Adam Gardner, we didn't hear from you in the last segment.
You're welcome, listeners.
So you know that as your former professor, I'm going to put you right here on the spot and say, what is your hot take about what's happening?
Well, but what's happening where?
put me on the spot. State, local. Hey, look. Okay, my favorite story of the day. Can I just talk about my favorite story of the day?
I teed you up, dude. Don't.
Veterans Day has been changed by the president. I don't know if you heard this. He truthed it. And he said because Veterans Day was normally about victory in World War I, we're going to keep that for World War I Victory Day, and then we're changing May 8th to Victory in World War II Day. And so it's no longer Veterans Day. We're no longer celebrating Veterans Day, even though this was an act of Congress that created these things. So the president has no authority to do this. He has actually sent out a truth social saying he is changing Veterans Day, which is interesting. So my grandfather, who is a Korean War veteran, it no longer has a day.
no day.
Because they changed it in 1954 to include all veterans.
By the way, this is a beautiful hot take, and I totally wasn't expecting it. And my goodness.
So it's been kind of a crazy day. The other thing he tweeted out today was gasoline just broke $1.98 a gallon. And I would love listeners to text in where you can find gas that is $1.98 a gallon, because I will drive there and fill up my car. So those are my two hot takes of the day.
Well, I think that in the words of Taylor Morgan, we need to move on past the president here. So
thank you. Can we talk blanket billboards finally?
Oh my gosh, we had to do a full segment on blanket billboards.
I'm telling you, like they've doubled overnight.
It was the worst segment of my entire life. I'm not kidding. We had to do the end of the show for listeners. Our producer is glaring at me because this was his idea. Andy Cupp, our wonderful producer, chooses our final segment of the day to usually be kind of light, airy, and fluffy.
Like a blanket?
So, like unto a blanket. And so we had to do a full segment on billboards and blankets and cookies. And
do you have a favorite?
I don't even care anymore. But
what?
Yes.
You said but.
No, I totally do. Those Minky blankets, because I actually gave them out as corporate gifts last year. But anyway, what an awful way to end the show.
Getting very conflicting messages here from Adam Gardner.
I love the blanket.
Hot take.
Hate talking
love the
about
blanket. Hate the Veterans Day move.
Yeah. I think that one of my favorite final segments, speaking of this, so it's true, our final segment is usually more fun. One of my favorites was when Taylor Morgan and I got to discuss Beyonce's Cowboy Carter, and Taylor didn't know that it was a country album.
No. Whoa.
Didn't think that Beyonce had anything to do with country.
It is not a country album.
Okay, there you
had
go.
one
And our
country song on
entire newsroom went crazy over that because Taylor was so unbelievably, absolutely wrong.
I was booed upon leaving. Walking out of the studio into the newsroom, I was audibly booed for my reaction to Beyonce winning Best Country Album of the Year.
That was a travesty, and I agree with you, Taylor.
Thank you, Adam.
Well, okay, so let's just talk about that. I've actually had a lot of people ask me, what is it like to be on the show? What are some of the behind-the-scenes things? How do you work it out with your schedule? So let's maybe just talk about that for a few minutes. What are some of your favorite segments, since we're on this segment 8 conversation? Do you have a favorite in mind?
Well, as far as Rusty goes and my thoughts, I look back on what we've been able to do, and I've been really quite surprised at how well we've all gotten along and how well we've gelled with everybody. I have had so many shows with each of you where I have gained new perspective on stuff that I hadn't thought of before. And I think what was so good about our show is we're able to deliver it in a pretty fair way. Like, it hasn't been combative, hasn't been mean and all. I remember some times where Greg and I, or Lee and I, and we were quite opposed on issues, but we were able to really see each other's viewpoints. And I think that's what hopefully people appreciate through this is that, and I didn't even make it all serious all of a sudden. You were all joking, and now I'm getting all serious. But that's what I've really appreciated is that we've been able to do that. I think that's what, part of our really good dynamic. So
I think we need to ask our OG godparents here, Greg and Mara. You guys did the first episode of KSL at night, right?
Yeah, we were just writing about that. We were upstairs, and from the beginning it was good. We had a nice format. We shared a lot then. We shared a lot of equipment, back then. But from the beginning, as is KSL's brand, we were able to get a lot of really interesting hosts, little guests, and some conversations. And right from the beginning, Greg and I invited a bunch of legislators on, a series of policymakers. And I think we had agreed at that time that we wanted to get really specific and really in the deep grass on policy. And we shared a very small room that smelled like a little bit like a locker room. And the door shut was tough. And but I think the big thing I remember, Greg, from those early shows is that we had a lot of policymakers who were willing to go deep with us on what they were doing.
Yeah, and I remember our first show a little different. It was COVID, and we weren't in the studio. Yeah. You were in your office, and I was in my office because you couldn't come to the studio. So it would have been like March of 2020.
Oh, so right when COVID hit.
Right when COVID hit. And Mara and I were the OGs. We started the program, and we hit it off very well. It was a great show, and I think it's gone well since. I was sort of wavering on what to do, and then Leah came and said, let's make a team. Let's do it. And she convinced me to stay on with the program once they got us here sort of all on board. Yeah. And I've never looked back. It's been great. And I agree with something Rusty said a minute ago. I love working with everybody in this room. We've had so much fun, no matter where you are politically or otherwise. It's just been so much fun.
Yeah, no, I love that, Greg. My first show was with Mara Carabello, and I had never done radio before. And the producer thought I knew what I was doing. And I just did whatever she did. So if she put her headphones on, or headset on, I'd put my headset on. If she pressed a button, I pressed the exact same button on my side because I had no idea. But I think Taylor, another one of our OGs, right? The conversations, your point, Mara, is so well taken, right? The answer was we want to talk about policy, talk about politics, not be jerky about it, not be like clickbaity about it. And I think we were successful.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been a lot of fun. We kind of represent a lot of different political views and kind of across the ideological spectrum, so to speak, and a lot of experience among the hosts, a lot of expertise, whether it's, serving as an office holder or running as a candidate or consulting candidates or representing, Taylor Swift as her attorney. There's so much.
And Ariana Grande.
Oh, yes, that's right. Sorry. Greg, Ariana Grande as well. But there's so much experience and knowledge and just talent among the hosts that it's been a wild ride, an amazing run. It's been a lot of fun. Good times. Definitely have learned a lot from everybody. And, I appreciate everybody putting up with my dumb jokes.
You know what else is really great is working with a lot of you who have contacts. I mean, you can do a show with Taylor and he can get somebody here that wouldn't return my phone call in a million years. Rusty, we had somebody from John Curtis's campaign the other day. I mean, Adam knows people. He's got people on his speed dial. And so we'll be talking about a subject. Hey, let's get somebody here that can talk about this or that. And you guys can hook them up. And we all have sources. We all have our abilities to get people in. But that combination, because I like having guests when we have that opportunity. And we've had some heavy hitters. I mean, we've had everybody that's important in the state has been on this show since we started it.
Everyone. Yeah.
I just want to piggyback. Leah was my first interview or my first co-host, and I did whatever Leah did. So whenever Leah put her headphones on and pushed the button, that's what I did because I had no idea what I was doing. And Leah made a comment at the time about how that's what she did when she was with Mara, and it just sort of filtered down. So Mara, you're like the chain continues.
That's
yeah,
right.
And the big secret that everyone knows is I didn't know. I was just like, we didn't get a lot of instructions, right? Which was kind of fun. And so the producer turned the on button and you mimicked what you had listened to. So that was good.
That's right. All right. We'll be right back with more discussions here on Inside Sources.
Good afternoon. It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top local story this hour. A missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints from Utah has been hit and killed by a car in North Carolina. 18-year-old elder Aleki Langi was on the sidewalk when a speeding car veered off the road and killed him yesterday. Another missionary was also hit but sustained minor injuries. Elder Langi was from the Magna 2nd Ward in the Salt Lake, Utah West Stake. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. New questions about President Trump and cryptocurrency.
President Trump has pledged to make the United States the crypto capital of the world, but this newly announced crypto deal is raising questions whether Trump is aiming to enrich the country or enrich himself. At a conference in Dubai attended by the president's son, Eric, Trump's cryptocurrency business announced a $2 billion investment from the United Arab Emirates, a transaction that could mean hundreds of millions of dollars for the Trump family.
That's ABC's Aaron Katursky. President Trump, meantime, is celebrating the April jobs report, which was better than expected. Employers added 177,000 jobs last month. On social media, the president wrote, "We're only in the transition stage, just getting started." Your money at this moment, the Dow gained 564 points today. Coming up, magnificent weather for half a weekend. The KSL weather forecast is next. Stay right here. KSL News Time, 2:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
For nearly 70 years, Les Olson IT has been the trusted name for businesses. From state-of-the-art printers and copiers to managed IT services, we have the solutions you need to stay ahead in today's world. And now Les Olson IT is trusted and licensed in Utah for security systems, for technology that helps you work smarter. Les Olson IT, providing solutions that empower your business. Les Olson IT.
Keep your home comfortable year-round with Golden Rule Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. We live the Golden Rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. That's why we offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you're not happy, we're not happy until it's right. Golden Rule is the trusted standard for plumbing, heating, and cooling in the Salt Lake Valley. Visit goldenrulephc.com.
We obey the rules to live by. Golden Rule Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling.
With Progressive, renters can save on protection for the things that make your place yours, even things that don't make sense to everyone.
People always wonder why I don't get rid of my guitar since I never play. But it's like, what if I actually end up taking lessons? Sure, I've had it for 8 years, but if I get rid of it, then what will my New Year's resolution be next January?
Exactly. So bundle your renters and auto and save with Progressive and protect the things that make sense to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers not available in all states or situations. Covered subject to policy terms and conditions.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Everyone loves the look of granite countertops, but they aren't the only option. When it's time to give your kitchen, bathroom, or basement a fresh new look, start at CountertopFactoryLLC.com. Countertop Factory offers high-quality laminate countertops that look amazing and cost just a third of the price of stone. Yeah, you heard that right. A third of the price. And these aren't your grandma's countertops. You'll get that luxurious look and feel without emptying your wallet. And with beautiful varieties of colors and patterns, it's easy to find something affordable and durable that fits your style perfectly. Countertop Factory installs most countertops in only 7 to 10 days from when they measure. That's faster than you can binge watch your favorite series. And it's not just countertops. At Countertop Factory, browse cabinet options to match your new countertops. All professionally installed to ensure everything looks flawless. From homes to offices to schools and hospitals. Get started 24/7 at CountertopFactoryLLC.com. That's CountertopFactoryLLC.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's Homegrown Home Loans. Here's Michelle Rowe.
A crash northbound I-15, that is at 33rd South. It's off to the right just as you're merging onto I-15. Seeing some slow and go traffic in spots all the way back to about 146 South. On the flip side, looking at some delays southbound I-15 at the point of the South Interchange. Another true David versus Goliath miracle movie from director T.C. Christensen. See Raising the Bar, a story of high jumper Alma Richards' story from rural Utah to an Olympic gold medal. In in theaters now. Michelle Rowe at the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL forecast, sunshine and 81 degrees tomorrow. Then for Sunday, a chance of showers and thunderstorms with a high of 72. Right now, 72 degrees. I'm Jeff Kaplan from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. This is Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
All right, well, we're going to finish up our last Inside Sources. We've got a little bit longer here. We're going to talk about some more personal thoughts on politics in general. You know, I've had a lot of people ask me why I got involved in politics, you know, and the thing is, I wanted to invest in my community. And when I grew up in Utah and went away for school and for work, and when I came back, I wanted to really get involved in what was going on in the world around me and put down roots and make my community a better place. And politics felt very overwhelming at the time. It was something that felt very much out of my reach. And then an opportunity presented itself, and I decided to jump on it. But I knew that I needed help, and I needed people who could help me along the way. And I went out and I found those people. And here we are today. Taylor Morgan, I'm giving you credit for this as one of my consultants. But, you know, it's been a wild ride getting involved in the political world and learning how to talk about political topics. Politics is kind of a taboo subject today, and a lot of people don't know how to talk about politics. So I don't know about the rest of you. I have found that I have become everybody's political friend. So when people want to talk about politics, they come to me to talk about it because they know that I'm a safe space where they can ask questions and they can have conversations. So, you know, in this time that we have left here, you know, you've got me, Aaron Ryder, Leah Murray, Mara Carabello, Greg Skordas, Adam Gardner, Rusty Cannon, and Taylor Morgan. Let's just talk about this. What brings you to this table? What brings you here? What do you want listeners? You know, Taylor mentioned his neighbors who are much more aware of what's going on politically today. How do we help people? You know, what do people do if they want to be involved? What brings you to this table, and what to the point that you're willing to have this conversation multiple times every week for months, years, however long we've been doing this? Taylor, I'm gonna start with you because I'm looking at you.
Oh, okay. Should not have made eye contact. Mistake, always a mistake. You know, Aaron, I'm thinking about my answers to these questions here. You know, as you've been talking, I've always been very excited about helping people get involved in the process and get involved in politics. And I don't know why. It's hard to really pin down exactly why that is something that I've always been really excited about, but it's always been very important to me. Even, you know, in college and before, getting involved on some state legislative campaigns and then doing some work in student government to get more students registered and voting. I truly believe in our process, and I believe our process really only works well when people are involved, when people are engaged. And it's not an easy thing, right? Politics is taboo. It's tough. You know, you don't want to risk offending a friend or ruining Thanksgiving by bringing up politics. But I will say recently, at least in my experience, I'm having conversations about politics and policy with, you know, people who have never wanted to talk politics before. And I think that's great. I love having that conversation. So I get excited about people getting involved. I get really excited about nerdy policy outcomes. I know Mara is on board with that too.
All right, Rusty.
Oh, am I up next?
I didn't
Sorry.
mean for
Okay.
this to be a roundtable thing, but I guess we're kind of going down the row here.
Well, in answer to your question, the catalyst for me, well, I've always admired good leaders and worried that we wouldn't elect good leaders. And I think getting involved in a process of making sure good leaders get elected is worthwhile for anybody to do, right? Because if we don't have good leaders, we're just headed in the wrong direction. I don't know why I'm remembering this, but the catalyst for me to really get involved in this stuff was actually the election of 2000, the hanging chads. If everybody remembers that, in Bush v. Gore and the Florida Supreme Court and all. I remember I got so emotionally upset over that whole process and all. I won't go into detail, but ever since then, I just always thought, okay, you know, you need to get involved in this. It makes a difference. But I think the why is just I've always admired those that could lead and speak to it and all. In fact, I remember one of the things that I watched a long time ago, and I would recommend anybody watch it. I'm sure it's on YouTube, is Reagan's speech called "A Time for Choosing," I think is the name of it. But that sums up kind of the reason as to why I like to be involved and I'm interested in it, is just kind of what he laid out there. My mind is blanking on some of the points that he made, but I'd recommend anybody watch it. I think it's...
Was this his
something.
Goldwater speech? Is that the
Well,
one?
it was in black and white, and it was in front of an audience
when he
in a
supported
TV
Goldwater.
studio or something. Is that what it was? Yeah, and it was phenomenal. And that those are some of the reasons that I think it's important. Yeah.
Adam, what about you?
I don't have any marketable skills. So
you ran for office.
I can't
twice.
I can't go to any other state and be successful, but I can in the state of Utah. I've always loved politics. Everyone has some of the things that they love. When I was a kid, I loved basketball, and I loved watching the news and knowing what was going on. I was a weird kid. And so when I was in high school, I did Teenage Republicans. I was sponsored by Orrin Hatch and Bob Bennett when I was 17 to go be a Senate page in D.C. I worked for Congressman Bishop, worked for Mitt Romney. That's what I love to do. I've been an elected official. It's been really fun. And the thing I love the most was a lot of people don't like talking about work when they come home. You don't like to re-argue cases, or maybe you do. You were married to a lawyer, Greg, so you have to talk about work when you get home.
That's right.
And you get good advice when you do. I love talking about work all the time because it's what I'm passionate about. And so when a neighbor, let me tell you what I love about being involved in government and politics. I love that when a neighbor would call me and say, I have a problem. Can you help me? Where do I go? I loved knowing the answer and knowing how to fix the problem. That's the best part about government. Best part about politics is knowing where to go for answers.
Greg?
I've run for office 3 times. If you count junior high and high school, 5 times, and I've lost every single one. So I
and
don't,
you're still here.
I don't regret any of it. But my runs have been that the 3 times I ran were as an attorney running for an office, and it's a little bit different. Attorney General, and I actually ran for district attorney once, and so you're running because you want to further your career. The first time I ran for AG, it was almost like a bucket list thing for me. It was like, I have to do this, and we did parades. We're traveling around the state. My kids were involved. It was the greatest thing. We lost horribly. And then after that, I thought, well, if I run again, it's to win, which was equally a failure. But I did run again. People ask me, "What, are you going to run again?" My wife is like, "No, it's in our post-nup. You're not going to run for anything ever again the rest of your life," and I won't. But I enjoyed the experience. I love politics. I love Democratic politics. I love the Republicans in the state. And this show, I've met so many people in the political world. It's been really interesting. And I don't know. I'm a political junkie.
Mara?
So my undergraduate is in behavioral therapy, so clearly I had to be a political consultant. And I'm gonna give a shout out to advocacy and nonprofits. And the reason that I'm going to answer why I've been able to sustain 2.5 decades in public policy is you have to chase down things you care about. And I think that's the difference between politics that people like and politics they don't like. And when it's too ambitious driven, when it's too about, building people's resumes, it's a turnoff. And it's no fun even for us working with folks who that's their genesis. But where you can align and where anyone listening can say, well, where do I fit? I don't have the same interest. I don't have the same level of passion that you guys have. But yeah, one of the big payoffs, the argument, the case for support for being involved is when you put action into stuff you care about and you can see change, even though as someone left of center in Utah, it may be incremental change, but when you can see that your effort made an impact, that's the addiction, I think, of hanging out and spending your time in public policy.
I also just, we're going to save Leah Murray's here for the next segment. But I just want to say there's so many people in this room, to Greg's point, that have influenced my political career. Taylor was one of my consultants, and in many ways, I owe my political career to him. Adam gave me advice. Greg has supported me when he didn't have to, right? Mara helped me with my convention speech when she didn't have to. Every single person here has given me support and advice in a number of ways, and I think that also matters, the community, even across party lines. All right, well, we're not done with this next. Coming up in our final segment of Inside Sources, We're going to talk some advice, what we hope our listeners take away from this after the show ends. And thank you all so much. We'll be back.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT. Because nothing fights sweat better.
Stay fresher under pressure.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything! The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu!
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Join the KSL Greenhouse Show this Saturday at Gardenia Headquarters, 845 Overland Road in North Salt Lake. Get exclusive pricing on hose reels, robotic mowers, and more.
Do you have an IRA or 401k? It's natural to think of this as being your money, right? But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And you could be paying a lot more in taxes on these accounts than you know. A lot more. Learn the strategies that can help you reduce or eliminate your taxes in retirement. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
Hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Wappett, Executive Director of the Institute for Disability Research Policy and Practice, or the IDRPP at Utah State University. Did you know that 1 in 4 Utahns have a disability? Think about that. Your neighbor, your colleagues, your family. At some point, disability affects everyone. The USU IDRPP is on the front lines, driving change right here in Utah and across the nation for people with disabilities. For over 50 years, IDRPP has been Utah's University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, generating vital research that shapes effective policies and delivers real-world solutions. From groundbreaking research to evidence-based training, the IDRPP empowers individuals with disabilities, their families, and the professionals who support them. We're making our communities more accessible and welcoming for everyone. Find out more at idrpp.usu.edu.
Looking for a Mother's Day gift that lasts? This year, give her the gift of a healthier, cleaner home with Zero-Res carpet and air duct cleaning. Right now, when you get the carpet of 3 rooms cleaned, you'll get an additional room cleaned absolutely free. And for a gift that keeps on giving, for a limited time only, you can get 20% off upholstery cleaning. Unlike traditional cleaners, Zero-Res uses patented ZR water, a powerful cleaning solution that lifts dirt and grime without harsh chemicals or detergents. That means your carpets and upholstery stay cleaner longer and dry in hours, not days. It's safe for kids, pets, and the environment. Plus, every cleaning comes with a Zero-Res Gotta Love It guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, Zero-Res will re-clean for free within 30 days. Don't miss out on these limited time offers because Mother's Day is soon. Get started today at Zerores.com and mention KSL to lock in your deal.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, today through Sunday. Mountain America Expo Center. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. 2 locations, Sandy and Hurricane. Today, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy, and Washington County Fairgrounds Legacy Park, Hurricane. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house. Whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
So I just want to say I don't understand why anyone doesn't love talking about politics, because I grew up at a dinner table where Grandpa was a Republican, Grandma was a Democrat, and Dad was an independent, and we talked about stuff all the time, and everyone loved each other at the end. So my favorite part about working here at KSL is a little bit, Mara Carabello, we modeled that, right? So even if we were on maybe the same side of the aisle, we would disagree.
Yeah, for sure. It's the battle of ideas. I think that's the difference between people who want to engage in policy. The other thing, if you think about how you feel about modern politics right now, and Trump is such a divisive person. I love him, I hate him. There's not a lot in the middle. So I'm going to be sort of, you can boo this, but I think if you are like, I don't know what to do right now, it's because you're asking what other people can do to change their behavior instead of you asking what you want to do to change your behavior. And I have found I'm frankly less and less interested in partisanship. I'm less and less interested in the brands. I'm less and less interested in the headlines because they are just so cheap and easy right now. But I can sit down with Adam for a long time and talk policies we disagree with or ideas or really, would you do that? And I can take the two things that I agree with him on, throw out the others, or vice versa with him. And if you're really feeling low, I'm going to argue it's because you're looking at other people and asking them what they are doing about it instead of looking at yourself and saying, you know what, I'm going to talk more about things I like. I'm going to find more reasons to agree and disagree. I'm going to enjoy listening to someone's opinion that I don't share. And the way you do that is to stay away from the clickbait and to stay away from the cheap stuff and to stop calling people and characterizing names. Don't talk about who anymore. Talk about what. What is super interesting? How is really interesting? Who? Not so interesting to me anymore because of the political climate we're in right now.
Yeah. Adam, what do you think?
I totally agree. I like the fact that even on my own side, as we have, there's 3 other Republicans here besides me, we disagree on Trump strategy all the time. And something you said was like the how is really important. And I can take my opinion, and I've said this on the show before, I hate that Trump did this, and I think this is really stupid. And I think it was even you that said, but was it a good idea? And I was like, yes, it was a great idea because politically it's super smart for him. This plays really well for a lot of segments of the population. And then we can get into the whole politics of it. Like, this is great because this side has to react this way, and that's not going to play well. So it's been fun to be able to take my personal opinions, to involve it in the conversation, and then to quickly take it out and let's look at the political landscape. That's been really a fun part of the show.
Rusty, what advice would you give to listeners kind of wondering how to manage, all the divisiveness maybe?
That's a good question. I wrote down 3 things, and everyone makes fun of me for always having paper on these things because everybody has it on computer.
Because Rusty thinks it's 1982.
We learned about paper in history class when I was...
in Leah's class.
Yeah, back in my class.
So something, I don't remember where I heard it, but some advice that I thought was really good. Somebody once said, when it comes to politics and policy, don't just immediately impugn the motives of those you disagree with. I think a lot of people, you just jump to a conclusion, well, they're on the other side of the aisle, so they're probably all evil. Like, that is flat wrong. And if you can talk to yourself immediately and say, just don't do that. That's number 1. Number 2, there was a quote, I think it was from Gordon B. Hinckley. He said, you can disagree with the policy without being disagreeable to the policy maker. And I think many have forgotten this these days, where you can disagree with them without being disagreeable to them. You don't need to berate them and those kinds of things. And that leads to the 3rd thing I wrote down. And we learn this for all those that are involved in, government relations or lobbying or politics. You might be enemies on day 1, but you have to be friends with them on day 2 very often. And this is the very effective legislators and elected officials that you meet. They know that. They know that, listen, I know we disagree on this bill, but we're going to have one probably next week that we're going to need to work together on. And so if you're just burning bridges, like the people we've seen really flame out quickly in this world are those that forget and burn bridges, and pretty soon they're just toast.
Aaron, what do you hope our listeners take away from this show?
One of the things that has impressed me over the last several years is just that there is a great amount of hope in our country. I think right now a lot of people don't feel hope in where we are as a country. But if you really look at the history of the United States, we don't like to be extreme as a country. We really don't. And so you might get, politicians who say a lot of things and policy and different things that come about, but really at the end of the day, if you study our history, we kind of just wind our way around a central line, and I think there's great comfort in that, right? It's not to say that we shouldn't be aware, that we shouldn't be watching things that are going on, and it's not to say that we don't have issues and that we haven't had, because we certainly have, but it should bring a layer of calmness maybe to the way we talk about some of these things, recognizing that a lot of these challenges we have seen before. We talk about this on the show, right? We've seen this movie before, and one of the best ways to do that is to just be involved. I was very surprised when I started getting involved in the political world how easy it was to get a hold of people and to talk to people, and how people were very willing to share and to teach and to mentor. And I think that goes for all of us here, right? I mean, I am happy to do that. Anytime someone reaches out to me and says, I want to know more about this, what do I do? I'm always happy to take the time to have that conversation.
Taylor Morgan, what do you think listeners should take away from the show? And my goodness, behave.
Hey now, Leah. Goodness. That's a big question. I think something I've been thinking a lot about lately, and this is something that, Boyd Matheson, who, of course, was on Inside Sources here before we kind of took over several months ago. But something that Boyd used to say that I've really been thinking about that I think is worth noting for our listeners is to always remember that politicians, elected leaders, they're not the example. They're not the ones that we should look to for leadership or as role models. Really, our politicians, the people we elect, are a reflection of us. And for better or worse, we get who we are in our elected leaders. And I know that this is cliche, but be the change that you want to see in your leaders. If you disagree with your leaders or you don't think they're up to the job, then get involved, run against them if you can, or have a positive influence. But don't look to politicians to be the examples. Instead, look to your neighbors and your community.
All right, Greg Skordas, last word.
Oh, boy, don't let me do that. But, one of the things that's been exciting about this show is that every year in November, we have elections, and we've had so many of those since we've been working together. And at its core, what we do best in this country is we allow people to vote in their leaders. And whether you like Trump or whether you like Spencer Cox or Mike Lee or whatever, the voters put those people in office, and we have to respect that. It makes us so much better than so many other countries and so many other disciplines that we let people do that. And at the end of the day, let the person that gets the most votes serve in that position, because that's who the people chose. We can say what we want about making voting harder with mail-in or gerrymandering or whatever. But at the end of the day, the voters make the decisions, and I love elections. I love it when we come to that time of year on this show because we get to find out what the people are thinking.
Yeah, no, and I gave you the final word, but here I am just taking up the last minute that we have got left. I have so much enjoyed talking about politics. It's my favorite thing in the world to do, and being with trusted travelers on this journey has been wonderful. And I think the takeaway from our listeners is keep talking about it and using the tips that you just heard here, respecting people and their choices, respecting the leaders, if only the title. If you don't want to respect the person in the office, you could respect the title of the office, right? We have really enjoyed being a part of the KSL family. Tune in on Monday for the launch of a brand new show, Middays with Maria Chaleos. That will air from noon to 3 p.m. and will be the best 3 hours of radio you possibly could be listening to. Next up is Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. Thank you all. Have a lovely weekend.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. We're at 73 degrees. KSL's top story. One of the two people sentenced to prison in the kidnapping of Elizabeth Smart has been arrested and accused of breaking rules as a registered sex offender.
She, in her own right, abused me.